All right. In 2003, Pennywise released their seventh album or seventh studio album, From the Ashes. It came out in September of that year. It's 14 songs instead of 12 and a much more robust 41 minutes. It's like a full 10 minutes longer with only 2 extra songs. Like you do that math, this is this is a bigger album. It's a
Mm.
bigger album. Uh man. Okay, so the first thing I wrote down, it has nothing to do with the song actually. I put just from the first few seconds of the opening track, now I know there are 2 things that are incredibly obvious. This is Pennywise and that they have quite a bit different production now. Like
Mm.
there's a clarity in the sound that isn't there with their older albums. Personally, I like it a lot. This is the Pennywise sound that I have loved since I was in high school. It feels the same, feels at the same time very familiar, but a bit improved. I think the best they ever sounded was on the 2 albums prior to this one, but this is awesome. Great songwriting, great production, great lyrics. This sounds like a 2000s skate punk record. It has that sound, and
Mm.
that was the first like thing that I wrote about this whole record. So yeah, man.
Yeah, it's very loud, and like a lot of those 2000s albums, I think they're mixed really well, and so you can just put them really really loud, and they have a certain quality to them. They also have just there's just I don't know, you can hear more. It's the production. You can just hear more things that are layered on. There's just a little more diversity in the sound throughout this entire thing. But it's funny because it's what 8 years later, but for a band that doesn't evolve or doesn't change, there is some stark differences in, especially when you get deeper
Bro.
into this album.
Yeah, if people want to say they don't change, I'm gonna give them these 2 records and go, all right, explain this then. Like, like they didn't evolve
But
at all. Like, what are we talking about?
and they don't necessarily represent like hugely like I think at the time it was like just another Pennywise album, so to speak. You know what I mean? But looking back at it, no, there's tons of evolution.
I
Both
mean, yeah,
lyrically, and again, and we're gonna circle back to the thing that Pennywise does kind of sound the same because there is a certain brand there is a certain
there are definitely
consistency.
things that are the same throughout their career, but they don't sound the same throughout their career. And I'm about to say some stuff that's going to piss off a lot of people.
Okay.
So just get prepared, man. I'm about to make a whole video on this, by the way. Okay, so we start off with God Save the USA, right?
Yeah.
Fantastic song, dude. Reminds me of SUM41, though. Like
Mm.
a lot. Vocals, guitar, melody. I mean, not the lyrics, okay. But go listen to the chorus of that song and then tell me it doesn't remind you of SUM41. And to be very, very clear, I say that as a compliment.
Yeah, you're
I
a big
like
Sum 41 guy
I'm a
too. Yeah.
big SUM41 fan. I love that band. As a matter of fact, after I listened to this today, I was like, okay, because this is going to come up like 9 more times within this conversation. I was like, all right, dude, maybe I'm just tripping. And I went and I was like, what's my favorite SUM41 album? I was like, does this look infected? I go back to I click on it and I started cracking up. Dude, I was like, dude, even the cover art is the same color,
It's that green. Yeah.
green and orange. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm just tripping. I hit
Oh,
play. Dude, they were like 7 months apart, I think. Maybe not quite that. Maybe they're less than a year apart, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure they were less than a year apart.
yeah.
You're
Well, I
like,
want to say that Sum 41 album came out like in '04. So yeah, that
nah, oh
sounds right.
two,
'02. Okay.
I think.
Yeah, there's 2 albums after the one they had in '01 that are pretty close. So it's yeah. I mean, either way, we're saying so it's a year difference or
Yeah.
a few
So
months.
like it came out like within a year of SUM41 does this look infected. They look and sound so similar. It's like it's eerie, dude. Like, but the thing is like I'm gonna get back to this in a little bit, right? Like I said, I'm gonna make a whole video on this. It'll probably have to be a Patreon video because I'm gonna put a lot of songs in the video. But stay tuned for that. I'm gonna go off on these songs for a minute because this is a longer album. So then we go to Something to Change. I really love the opening riff and the drums. Whatever that symbol is that they're doing, it really works for the song. This one really sounds like something off of About Time, in my opinion. It's a great song, great mix of late 90s skate punk and 2000s pop punk with an underlying tone that is uniquely Pennywise. Uh, Always loved SUM41, and this album feels like these dudes were listening to a lot of that, or that band was produced by someone who either liked them a lot or worked with them. I don't really understand why it sounds so similar to me, but there are tons of similarities in those 2 bands with these 2 albums, comma, in my opinion. I wrote this down so many times because it just kept being a comparison that I couldn't avoid. Like
Mm.
how do you feel about that? Did you ever think that?
not as like the direct connection that you're making necessarily, but I mean, Sum 41 was one of the bands that was, I think, the most influenced by 90s skate punk with in terms of the stuff they did. Their brand is
Right.
more like 90s skate punk mixed with like 80s metal is sort of
Yeah,
what
yeah.
is what they produced out. And I want to say that those mid 2000s albums, so I think of Old Killer No Filler as their real pop, like their true pop punk album, and that's the one that really broke them. The next two albums are much like heavier and darker in tone. It's just they sort of had their
Right.
reputation as being that sort of bubblegummy band. So for you having that conclusion doesn't shock me at all. I mean, Sum 41 has always said their base genre was skate punk. Like they've always been very, very clear about, like they came out in the mid 90s. They came to California basically wanting to record a punk and drum lick, like wanting to do their version of that. And so that that makes sense.
It's funny too, because once I get to the end of this, I'm gonna have an opinion that'll probably set some people at ease a little bit.
Mhm.
Because I kept hearing this, and I did look up the dates, and I was like, well, it shocked me that the Sum 41 album was out before the Pennywise album, because it's distinctly these two records that sound a lot alike. It's Does This Look Infected and From the Ashes. Those two albums, aesthetically, sonically, they sound and look a lot alike. But I think ultimately, dude, I think it was just an accident, man. I don't. I mean, it would be pretty shocking if it was intentional, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it just keeps popping up, dude. Then we have Waiting is one of my all-time favorite Pennywise songs. It's a perfect blend of speed, melody, great vocals. The lyrics are on point. It's a wonderful song. Great drums on that song. A little guitar lead. It's got a rad bridge. It's a great one to sing along to at a show or in the car, even like when you're just by yourself singing in the car. It's a perfect song, dude. It's a great song. What do you think about that song? It's one of my favorites, dude. Love it.
No, it is, and it's got really good energy to it. That's the thing about this album. This album goes like kind of it's a little more uneven in terms of where the songs are at, because I would say like for going back to About Time, there's a lot longer stretches of like just the skate punk stuff going.
Yeah, okay, this one has more ebbs and flows. It's got more. This one's got more variety. It's exactly what we're talking about. They don't get stagnant to me at all. I put Salvation dash. Well, not a Rancid cover, unfortunately. But it is another one of my favorite tracks off this album. It's a great song. The bridge, again, is really, really good. This band manages to take a relatively simple sound or type of punk and perfect it. The lyrics in this one are especially good, in my opinion, as well.
And I think the lyrics are key to Pennywise. Like it's a hard band to really be into if you're not into the lyrics.
Yeah,
because they're an essential part of the band. I think that's why it was hard, even though
they're very direct. Their lyrics don't leave a lot to the imagination,
right? So it's like, so you take that. They're similar to the Descendants in that way. Like I always said that about the Descendants, there's no subtlety in the Descendants. Like the Descendants, like I like you, you don't like me. It's very clear cut. There's no ambiguity. You listen to Bad Religion, you got to do like 6 months of scholarship to understand one song,
bro.
Whereas like these themes are very similar, but it's more of like the easy reader version.
So okay, then we got let's see, Look Who You Are. Starts off with some guitar melodies that remind me again of Sum 41, and I put, it's so crazy how much this album reminds me of that band. I do love it though, and I gotta say, man, there's so many points, but we're gonna get to it in a minute, because I had a time to think about this. I sat here and just thought about it for like a good half hour, trying to figure out why it reminded me so much of it. Then we go to Falling Down. I just put, bro, seriously, it's got to be something to do with the production. This song also reminds me of Sum 41. Super catchy, melodic. It's not as poppy as Sum 41, but I mean, like, Pennywise should. Oh, dude, I put this on here. I said Pennywise should have been huge when they were dropping albums that sounded this much like one of the biggest pop punk bands on the planet. This is more. This is like the more punk rock counterpart to Sum 41. It's absolutely wild, dude. Also, the song had a little guitar solo, which I really appreciate. It shows some growth in their songwriting abilities. But I love this album, dude. I really do. But like, I genuinely feel like you could show some people Pennywise and Sum 41 songs if you were really picky with the songs, and ask them, is this the same band? And I bet you some people would say yes to that. And if that's the case, then I think Pennywise deserves some money, because damn it, They're freaking Pennywise, dude. Like that's crazy to me that they weren't bigger than they got. But they also can consistently tour. I don't know that they want to be bigger. I have a hard time believing they wouldn't want to be bigger. But who knows, dude? I'm not in their head, so I don't know. But I know they love being punk rockers. So
they don't really have like a rock star makeup to them in that way. I mean, they're kind of rock stars within our level of like punk rock, and they're sort of royalty within there. And I wonder if that's been, I don't want to say good enough, but like, yeah, it's. I wonder how they really feel about that, because they're super successful relative to almost any other band that's ever existed. Right. Yeah.
I mean, I am positive. Like, let me be very clear about this. I'm positive they are grateful. Can you imagine Fletcher with like SUM41 money though?
I want to see it. Yeah. I need a reality show.
Do we though? Can you imagine that guy? He may not be with us anymore either.
I like the idea of him like teaming up with like Lockheed Martin or something and just like shooting guns off of like a thing just for fun.
Do you remember that Travis Barker reality show?
Yeah, the one with the Meet the Barkers or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, so bad. But yeah, I watched it. I'm talking all kinds of crap, but I'm like, I watched it.
I would pay so much money for a Fletcher reality show. Yeah. This man who's a terror, but also has like this heart of gold. I just want to see all that all the time, just playing out.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I would definitely watch that.
Fletcher is the joy of like when you never have children in your life, you never have to really grow. Like he's the ultimate representation of like, don't screw up too much. And if you don't have kids, you can kind of go on forever like this. There's sacrifices you have to make along the way. But I also think just like in his size and stuff, like certain people are just literally built different.
Right.
Fletcher was meant to just drink endless beers, cause endless hell, and be like, I think probably perfectly healthy and not really a menace to society by like traditional sets. He's just interesting guy, man.
I'm a huge fan of that dude. Hold on. Sorry, my headphone cord got tangled up in the wheel of my chair.
Did you hear the Dropkick Murphy song that they had about him on the new album?
Yes, I love it. I love Fletcher, bro. Dude, look, man. We don't have a lot of people that represent us that are like not like a criminal, but still so chaotic that you can go, that guy's a pain in everybody's ass, but he won't go to prison. Like, yeah, that's Fletcher, bro. He's a rebellious psychopath, but like in a way that we can all kind of still love.
He's a badass in like the truest of sense. Yeah, dude, he's great. Yeah,
Fletcher's rad. Holiday in the Sun. I put this one's a throwback to an older Pennywise sound. Love it.
And they must have really been in their Sex Pistols era in this album. That they have a song called Holiday in the Sun and God Save the USA on the same album.
Bro, I'm telling you, I was thinking about that the whole time I was listening to this. Like, what's up with these song titles? I was like, were they just jamming Never Mind the Bollocks every weekend?
Yeah, I think that was part of their like, because they were explicitly thinking they were making more political music, even though I look back at it, I don't think it's that much more political than the other stuff, because they took a little bit of flack, I think, on Land of the Free. There was a few people that were like, what, Pennywise is political now?
Dude, they've always been that way, though. I don't understand that.
People who can't read. I mean, that's gotta be it, right? That's gotta be it.
I feel targeted right now. Dude, yeah, okay, this is only a test. It's a more calm, melodic offering. At least vocally. The music's still really, really fast.
It's a little bit Bad
really like that song.
I think it has more of a Bad
Religion
type, that sort of that Bad Religion, a little bit of like classic rock influence that I said Pennywise doesn't have. I think this is an example of them kind of having it. Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, dude. Then you got Punch Drunk, a slower prodding song with a palm muted guitar riff to start it out. Probably my least favorite song on the record, if I'm honest, but by no means a bad song. It's just of course, this is the song with the rad guitar solo in it. The one thing I've been waiting for the whole album. It's the one song that I don't really care for. So I guess technically I still enjoy the song quite a bit because I love guitar work like that. But it's something about the song that just doesn't grab me. But again, not a bad song. I don't think I really skip very many Pennywise songs. There might be a whole handful out of their entire discography.
Yeah, I had to look at the lyrics of it right now because I couldn't remember which one it was. So I think it has that similar sort of little bit of skippable. But if you notice, the one difference between this and About Time is we talked about the second half of About Time has some like just like frivolous songs almost that sort of seem like repeats from earlier. They switched up their, so if you look at this one, I think the skate punk side is a little more front loaded on the A side. And on the second side, there's a little more experimentation when we're going around the B side. It's a little bit different. Yeah.
Well, on Rise Up, it opens up with some really big drums, very classic Pennywise sound. It's a really good song in my opinion. Great vocal performance. It's got a little gang vocals in there, which is nice. Really catchy chorus on that song. I put down here on this particular song I wrote down, this album really did show growth from the band from just a few records earlier in their career. Got great melody in this song, and it just shows that they grew as musicians and songwriters quite a bit within just a few years. I mean, I guess in hindsight, it's just a few years. Back then, it was a lifetime difference, I think.
Yeah. I think we flattened the timeline with hindsight a lot more. It's like, oh yeah, 03 and 95.
Ooh, you said that very well. Yes, we flattened the timeline with hindsight. Oh,
yeah, I need to get that
come
one.
up with that?
Yeah, I guess.
Bro, yes, sir.
Yeah,
I like that.
No, but it's true because like in my mind, 03 and 95, that was all a few years ago. But like thinking back to being in 03, 1995 was like a lifetime ago, at least, at the age I was in.
I mean,
then.
Yeah, looking at it right now, 2018 is when I opened my first business, like for real. My first, bro, I've had 2 other businesses, started a label, started 2 different channels, like had another child. Like, bro, my whole life is different from just 7, 8 years ago. Like, yeah, dude, 8 years is a lifetime, but it's also not. So
different music industry too, and that's something we don't always appreciate. Is like these guys are in the music business. They might not be at the top of the music business, but they are affected by trends and so the way that they
Hold
are
on 1 second.
now.
I'm sorry, dude. 1 second. I don't know what that dog was hearing, but all of a sudden he got up and had to leave the room. My apologies. But yes, the music industry is a thing that we don't often bring up because we think of it as we're punk rockers. We don't really consider ourselves part of the music industry, but we are. I mean, it just is what it is. It's still an industry. It is, I mean, I consider myself a part of it, and because I own a tiny little label and a little record store, and I'm still a pretty big part of it, at least locally. So, did you freeze up? You good?
A little bit.
What's happening?
A few moments later.
All right.
I think that one was on me.
Oh, okay, cool. I was like panicking. I was like, what did I do?
No, my computer, it's weird. It's a really good, like powerful computer, does really well with like streaming and that stuff. For any other practical use though, it's just terrible. And so I had Genius Lyrics pulled up, which I should know better, that it always crashes my computer. And sure enough, I just saw the little thing spinning, and I think that's what it was.
Genius did that.
Genius destroys my computer for some reason.
Interesting.
I should know better to pull up the app on the phone. It works fine on my phone.
Right. I always use my phone when we're talking, unless I have to read notes that I wrote, just so I don't have to pull up extra shit on my screen. But so we were talking about the music industry a little bit, no?
Yeah, that's what we left off on.
But yeah, I think it's funny. We don't really consider ourselves part of the industry, but we are.
Well, it's funny because these bands do have to react to those things, and we don't always like consider the fact that like studio space was a different cost at this point, or like now studio space not as much of a thing, and like all of those things we don't always consider as much because we're not living in the time that it's happening.
Right. What song are we talking about? Rise Up was the one we talked about just a minute ago. Huh?
We were right before Yesterday.
Okay, sure. Yeah, so Rise Up. Okay. Yeah, Yesterday's is a really good melodic mid-paced skate punk song. It's a really good song with a very familiar sound. I just keep hearing SUM41 on this album.
It's another one that I would say, and I have that one as a sort of like a Bad Religion kind of the way I could see like Bad Religion singing. It's another one. I think that is the title track to this album, maybe because it says from the ashes, the way it goes. I kind of think of it as sort of like the mission statement. It's also like, I think some ways lyrically you can say it's sort of like a weird sequel to Brohim, because there's like those feelings of hanging out and that kind of thing, and how things have changed and how they've evolved. It's a really interesting song. I like. It's one of my favorites actually on this album.
Well, I put on here that it definitely reminded me of SUM41's music again, but I don't consider that necessarily bad. At least SUM41's earlier stuff, I'm not familiar with their albums after Chuck. But there's even a piano in the bridge on this one song that on Yesterday's, which I really enjoy. Yeah, man, this album is a weird anomaly. Honestly, it also sounds nothing like. We picked 2 albums that really kind of stand out on their own within their discography. They don't really sound like their other albums, if we're being honest about it. Because even the albums after this, they sound more similar to like Land of the Free.
Yeah, they're almost less produced or more minimalistic.
Right, right. Change My Mind is probably my favorite song on the album. It's a perfect follow-up to Yesterday's. I love that song. Lyrically, obviously right up my alley. It's a fantastic track. It's a great one to sing along with in the pit. Stage dive into that song is fun. That song is what I think of when I think of Pennywise, or at least their later career. I think of that song right there. And then we have Judgment Day, which closes out the album. It's a very powerful driving closer to a fantastic album that is often overlooked, in my opinion. It's got a great catchy hook. What a wonderful record this is.
I definitely, even like I put this at number 4 or 5 when we did our rankings, I definitely overlooked this album like all the time. And I don't really know why. Like, so for me, this is the first Pennywise album that came out and I was aware of it. And I remember being really into it. Land of the Free had just come out when I had got into punk rock. So it had already been released, but it was still like their new album for a while. And then this one, I don't know why I was remembering this, because I talked about how I went to some different schools, and at the school I went to, there was a lot of like rockers over there, but we were like a United Nations of rockers. Yeah, like I was like the punk guy. There was a goth guy. There was a bit like we were all that. And I remember I didn't have no friends for a while. And, you know, back in the day, you go on the website of a band, and as soon as you would click on the Pennywise website, it had like a little excerpt from one of these songs playing really loud. And I was there in my computer lab at my new school, and then everyone just looks over at the new kid and playing this music. And it was the weirdest thing. But as the album came out, like I'm trying to remember if I knew most of these songs. I don't even remember if I ever actually owned it, if it was just one of those that was kind of like a mixtape burned one for me. But I remember being super into him 03. I'd seen him in 03, 04, 05, you know, all the way up until Jim left, and then getting back into him. It's just, I think those other albums have these really epic songs that we associate with them, maybe like a Fuck Authority, like an Alien, like a Bro Hymn, like Same Old Story, that this one doesn't necessarily have the signature song, even though it's a very good album. So maybe we don't like talk about it as much. Like for you, if you look at their set, they'll play God Save the USA every now and then, but they don't actually pull a lot of this out from their set either.
I think this has a similar problem that honestly most of the bands from this era, like you have like NoFX, Rancid, The Offspring, Green Day, they all suffer from this. No, I don't like them anything past this time.
Mm.
I think everything past Straight Ahead, there's a whole different crop of people that like that band. And then everybody likes Straight Ahead and older. And that's the same with like NoFX. Once you get to like Pump Up the Volume, that's a whole different group of people. Rancid is Indestructible, whole different group of people. So it's like they lasted so long that they've touched multiple generations of people. And so this album gets overlooked by us. But whenever I have young people in my store, I've sold plenty of copies of this, but they were on CD. Like, because people come in, young kids, they want the CDs now. I've sold a bunch of these, but they don't go and buy Full Circle. It's wild to me that they don't buy that album.
Yeah.
I still have 2 copies of Full Circle that I've sold probably 5 copies of this in the last year.
And Full Circle is a much more like iconic album in terms of like,
you would think About Time. I don't know that it has that issue with anything, but like, you know, this album does get overlooked by people our age. I think it's just an age thing. I think it's just like me not listening to Bad Religion's material because or whatever. Let's pick any band. I just wasn't the same age, you know.
I think that may suffer a little. That may be is like in general, all this stuff, even though it still felt very popular in like 03 and 04, it was sort of on the decline to like another version of it that was going to replace it. And so I think, whereas a lot of those people, like I was referencing, they do know Pennywise and they are aware of Pennywise. I think it sort of gets lost. The stuff that was coming out now gets a little bit lost in the shuffle of all that. And so when you think of Pennywise, you think of those earlier albums, but this very much belongs, I think, I think historically we do need to move it over. And I don't even think, like I said, they really have a bad album. I do think they sound, like you say, it's more of a reversion for the albums they had in 05 and 08. It's maybe those are the albums, and those aren't bad albums. I haven't listened to them in a long time, but those are maybe the albums to criticize for being a little more repetitive and a little more formulaic than I would ever say about this one. This one, they're trying stuff. They're experimenting. They're doing things, and the songwriting is really, really good.
I agree wholeheartedly. So at the end of all this, I wrote down something. I wrote, okay, so I think I figured out what is reminding me of SUM41 so much. I think that, at least to me, Derek and Jim just have similar sounding voices. Like, it's this like key and tone that they hit. It's similar. It's not the same. It's the similar, right? And Pennywise was very obviously an influence on SUM41 with their skate punk stuff. maybe even like an effect that was put on the vocals in the production process between the two guys, because the vocals sound, dude, if you go back and listen to Does This Look Infected, the way the vocals sound and not necessarily his voice is similar. So I think it's a production thing, because again, they were both in the same time frame. There's just this sound that I hear with both of those guys. And I do think that is just a kind of a weird coincidence that the two bands have a bunch of similar sounds on these albums that came out really close to each other, that have even similar cover art like ideas. I don't know how this all happened, bro. It's so weird, man. With the green and orange color scheme. Honestly, dude, it's super rad in my opinion. I think it's awesome. It's just a style from an era that two bands liked. Fast skate punk songs. They had vocalists that had similar voice. They had similar interests and influences. There's definitely more punk with Pennywise. There's definitely more metal with SUM41. But it's cool to look at this, dude. It's cool to talk about it. It's cool to recognize it. Like I said, maybe I'll do a video on this subject. I'll go, but go listen to the Hell song. I listened to it today. Go listen to the Hell song and tell me you can't hear a Pennywise playing that song, bro. There's more guitar solos in the SUM41 stuff, but like, man, dude, it's so strange, man. Like, I can't be the only person that thinks that they sound super similar, but maybe I am. I'm gonna get railed in the comments for that, probably.
I don't think you're the only person that would agree that they sound kind of similar, but I don't think anyone would make quite the connections that you.
Dude, but I listened to both albums today, man. I can tell you that I am gonna have to make a whole video about this, and I'm gonna be able to point out like points in the song from each band that sound like the other band. Like, that's how I'm gonna do that. Is I'm gonna listen to each album on the video, and I'm gonna go, all right. Here, clearly, this does not sound like Pennywise, but this big chunk of space here does, and vice versa. Okay, look, doesn't sound like SUM41, but when you get to here, this entire 17 seconds sounds like SUM41. So if you do that enough times in one album, they just sound a lot alike. Are they different? Yes, but they are not black and white. They're two different shades of gray. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Well said.
I'm going to get just
roasted. I like how this is like your new thing, that like this is your new hill to die on. The SUM41 Pennywise comparison.
Pennywise sounds like SUM41. It's really vice versa, but I was listening to them in a different order. So like I kept thinking Pennywise sounds like SUM41, and it's only because of the dates that the albums came out. It was blowing my mind, bro. But whenever I listened to this, I've always thought that this sounded like SUM41. And another thing, whenever I listen to The Offspring, I almost always go, how do you tell me that this doesn't sound like Pennywise? Because it does, dude. At least later Offspring. But like, it absolutely sounds like Pennywise.
I think that one's a really like direct comparison. Like I think those bands just sound. I mean, they're from the same label, from the same part of town. Like it makes sense that they would sound, kind of similar.
If you took the silly songs off of each Offspring album, you could just switch the vocalists out, and it would work fine.
Yeah, you could put Dexter could sing in Pennywise, and I think for the most part, Jim could sing in the Offspring.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
They should do that. They can't. I've only
that would be Pennywise a hilarious tour if they tour together and they just swap.
They swap singers. I've only seen Pennywise live once, and the only other time they've come to town in my consciousness that I wasn't able to go, my kids were like just born. I want to say they came with the Offspring at like a beer festival kind of, which I would love to go to that, but like I want that to be the tour and just every night for them to swap singers the whole night, not telling anyone. That would be such a great thing.
That'd be amazing. That was a good conversation, man.
It's interesting to track the evolution of Pennywise, because I just think it's something that probably hasn't had a lot of focus in our space, because the conventional wisdom is about how similar all their stuff is. I think you need to do a little bit of extra work on it.
Well, I really like their music a lot. I've always been a big fan, but I really enjoyed talking with Jim. So I have like a really different, like a new like resurgence of like desire to listen to their music, because it's like anything. When I started learning about the Descendants, I suddenly decided I liked that band and I liked their songs. They meant something different to me at that point. And once you get to talk to an artist, it could go either way. You could really, as an example, I used to really love Dillinger 4. And when I saw him live, it almost ruined the band for me. I don't like the way that the frontman was behaving on stage. Like, it just didn't fit my idea of the band. And I'm having to like really work on it. It bothered me a lot. But when I met him over the thing and talked to him, dude, he was just so dang nice. And I just thought like, wow, what a nice person. Because you never know with these people, man. Like you get somebody like, yeah, I don't know. It's everybody I've met thus far has been pretty awesome. Honestly, I've only had one weird interaction the entire time that I've done this, and it was with the singer of Integrity, and it wasn't bad. It was just interesting. Like it was just like I felt like he didn't want to be there, but then at the end of it, he was like, "Man, I had a great time." I was like, "Whoa, I could have fooled me, man." Like, but heck yeah, dude. You want to try to do another one of these like compare bands videos? Because I have one in mind that you're going to be like, "Ooh."
They're really fun to research, but tell me which one you had in mind.
I don't think either of us are ready for this, but I was thinking Rancid versus Rancid, Rancid versus Rancid.
Oh, yes.
Self-title versus self-title?
Yeah, because you don't know how to behave with Rancid 2000, and I'm kind of a pretty lukewarm on 93, so that'll be great.
This is going to get us both just kicked in the metaphorical nuts, dude. Like, we're going to be just getting raked across the coals on that one.
Well, and I think you and I will have a pretty strict like disagreement about our preference on that one too. So that'll be great. Like, again, I used to be the guy who didn't really like Rancid 2000 that much, and then you came around and that became like your identity. So,
dude, I mean, it's even on my shirts. Did I send you one of those yet?
No.
Okay, I'll mail you one out. I gotta send some things out this week.
Like it's the best merch that you've ever come up with.
Did you see my Husker Du one?
No.
Oh, bro, I have a one that says the. Hold on. I'll just send you an image of it, dude. You're gonna laugh, dude. Like it just says Punk Rock Review, but it's in the Husker Du font with the U's with the little. Yeah, I hate that band, and so it's like, it's just funny. I've already sold a bunch of them. Not a bunch. I sold a few. But it's like that's the joke is that I make the merch on the stuff I don't care about, and people go like, "What?" But yeah, let's do Rancid versus Rancid, Rancid versus Rancid. That'll be hilarious. Oh man, I was thinking of we should do like a No Effects one soon and do like. I mean, we could even do like Punk and Drublic versus Pump Up the Volume, but I was thinking going even crazier and doing like S&M Airlines versus Punk and Drublic versus something. We could even do like 3 different ones if you wanted to, because they're records we already know quite a bit about. We wouldn't have to spend too much time with them.
Do more comparing on those ones, you know.
Yeah. So, what's another band that has like a different shift in sound? There's plenty of bands like that though, aren't there?
Yeah.
Shit, even like Green Day, you could go with like Dookie versus American Idiot, like their 2 biggest albums, and compare those because they're like night and day.
Well, and they're 10 years apart. That one's very clean because they're the giant albums that are a clean decade apart.
Rancid, you could even do like Life Won't Wait versus almost any other album, or you could do like Out Come the Wolves versus Troublemaker, because I think there's a lot of similarities in those 2 albums, or Out Come the Wolves and like Indestructible, because you get like 2 albums in between that, but you have like they're probably their 2 biggest commercially successful albums. I would think.
It's like, what is it, like the Fast and Furious movies where there's 2 that are like non-canon and then they go back to the storyline? That's I feel like what happened there. They have these 2. They have their hardcore and their ska album, and then they got back on their regular Rancid track in 2003.
Yeah, some guy in the comments the other day was like, "Oh, you think Rancid's punk? You must think less than Jake is ska." And I was just like, "I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you, man. I'm sorry, Mr. Punk Rock guy. Like." I have quit even caring at all what these people think. Like if you come at me with some sideways negative nonsense, I go for it. I don't care. I just don't. I'm not even responding anymore. I've gotten past that. My channel's been around long enough now to where I don't care. I don't. Unless it's something that's like really, really crappy personal, like I might just block it or something. But like I say whatever you want, man. I might even argue with you just for fun at this point. Like I don't.
Well, if someone looked at the screen right now, we're representing 4 different bands. 3 of the 4 of them are extremely polarized. And, Circle Jerks kind of gets to escape a little bit from that with the other 3 we're rocking.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that. Yeah, dude, we're like a freaking hot topic.
We are. We should be like these influencers that get paid for hawking other people's merch.
Although, dude, this hat got me an interview with Ray Carlisle, so I will say that. Because he told me, he's like, yeah, man. He's like, I just started seeing your channel and you always had the TBR hat on. And I was like, bro, I wore that hat to death. I had to get another one. And he was really cool. He said he watches the channel stuff. He was super nice. Talking to that guy towards like the end of the interview, because the first part of it, I was like kind of wondering, like, is he just messing with me? And like, I don't know, like 3/4 way through, he was like, hey, man, I got to let you know, dude, I took some huge bong rips before I did this interview. And I was like, oh, that explains like the whole... And I was like, oh, thank you for telling me that, because now I can relax a little bit, because I thought I was just screwing things up. Turns out he was just really high.
It put it into better context for you. Yeah.
Yeah, he's really cool, man. I can't wait to see him again. When they come to town here pretty soon. But their new album, I'm pretty excited for it. Oh,
yeah,
the new Dropkick album. Do I need to listen to that so we can talk about it on the next episode?
I would. I really liked it, and I generally don't like new Dropkick stuff. You know what I mean? Like
I was surprised you said it, if I'm honest. So yes,
I always think it sounds good, but a lot of it doesn't necessarily like appeal to me. That album though, it just kind of got me. We'll talk about it more, but like I didn't think an album that only had one song that Al Barr sings on could really like have me that interested in a Dropkick album, but it did.
Well, I mean, it would fit a Rancid conversation. They're very closely related. So awesome, dude. Well, do you want to give it a couple weeks before you get settled into the school year?
Yeah, let's do that.
I'll reach out in like 10, 12 days and check in and see what you think.
Okay.
Awesome, dude. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. Listen to Pennywise. Listen to more Pennywise for the third time. Listen to more Pennywise. And we'll see you in the next episode of Punk Rock Podcast. Peace.